That's why it's in the middle. You know what? Oh, so you want me to make it right? Eva and Corey. That's all. What Ben's order you had? There's a bad one got passed out of like 2 minutes ago. Let me know. What outfit are you in? I'm going to punch it out. No, I'm going to punch it out. You punch it in. All right, so
You start making your way to your seats. We'll get started here in just a minute. Oh, I did that. All right, we are going to go ahead and get started. Okay, first, just welcome. Thank you all for being here. I know we're entering tax season, so your attendance tonight is greatly appreciated and noted. Firstly, we have some new faces in the room, so congratulations to our new senators that will be sworn in later tonight. With that, we're going to go ahead and move into a period of opening roll call led by President Purcell.
Howdy, when I say your name, please say howdy. SVP Coppinger. Chief Justice Fluffingwell. Peter Blackburn.
Howdy.
Chair Armstrong. Howdy. Chairman Chu. Chairman Morrison. Howdy. Chairwoman Gaddis. Chairman Bass. Howdy. Chairwoman Cornell.
Howdy.
Chairwoman Applewhite. Chairwoman Wilhite.
Howdy.
E.D. Herbert.
Howdy.
Senator Fisher. Howdy. Senator Vaughn. Senator James.
Howdy.
Senator Tanner Owen. Howdy. Senator Williams. Howdy. Senator Roscoe.
Howdy.
Senator Bounds. Senator Garcia. Senator Jacino. Senator Oberoi.
Howdy.
Senator Pham. Senator Sanchez.
Howdy.
Senator Vernon. Senator Daniel. Senator Rodriguez. Senator Sanders. Senator Wright. Senator Hunt. Senator Gilliam. Senator Maynard. Senator Mora. Senator Bradley. Howdy. Senator Childs. Senator Gaines.
Howdy.
Senator Gubser. Howdy. Senator Kim. Howdy. Senator Wallace. Senator Tucker.
Howdy.
Senator Yackel. Senator Applewhite. Howdy. Senator Henry Smith. Senator Burrell. Senator Van Hooser. Senator Orrego. Howdy. Senator Booth. Senator Collinsworth.
Howdy.
Senator Edgerton.
Howdy.
Senator Hughes.
Howdy.
Senator Coates. Senator Jojo Owens. Senator Pritzbach.
Howdy.
Senator Conrad.
Howdy.
Senator Duncan. Senator Flores. Senator Kowalski. Senator Hoffman. Senator House. Senator Hurt. Senator Jantz. Senator Leahy. Senator Monk. Senator Norton. Senator Oliver. Senator Anacate Owens. Senator Puckett. Senator Ratcliffe. Senator Schaefer. Senator Steele. Senator Sloan. Senator Hudson Smith. Senator Stone. Senator Teets. Senator Capote. Senator Tullis. Senator Horton. Here. Senator Rasko. Thank y'all.
All right, with that, we are now going to move into the invocation and pledges of allegiance led by Reese Pace on behalf of Keeping Under Christ.
Howdy. Please, if you may, let's bow our heads in prayer. Dear Lord, tonight I ask that you lead this meeting with 4 values of Texas A&M, which are respect, excellence, leadership, loyalty, integrity, and selfless service. Lord, I ask that you guide the wisdom in this place, Lord, and that you are with the people in this room. Lord, I ask that this room seeks truth, seeks to spread truth at Texas A&M. Lord, in your name I pray. Amen. Amen. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the United I pledge allegiance to the one state under God, one nation.
All right, with that, we are now going to move into our mission statement and Aggie honor code led by our longest serving senator, Chairman Audrey.
He's got a memory expression. Here we go.
All right, the Texas A&M University Student Senate represents all students in order to enhance the Texas A&M experience within our university and communities through research, legislation, and advocacy in accordance with the core values of our institution. And Aggie does not lie, cheat, or steal, or tolerate those who
All right, with that, we are now going to move into a period of open forum. President Patel, do we have anyone for open forum?
I have Ken Athens on behalf of the Queer Empowerment Council.
Okay, if the speaker will please come down. All right, we'll have 2 minutes, Davis up there, and 2 minutes starting.
Howdy, thank you all for having me. My name is Karen Ashton, my pronouns are they, she, he, and today I will be introducing the Queer Empowerment Council. So the Queer Empowerment Council at A&M is an umbrella org for all the LGBT+ organizations on campus. So we put on events, we advocate for queer students. We have a lot of resources that we gather for people within and outside of our community. And we act as a consolidator for all the LGBT+ groups on campus. All right, so there was supposed to be more on this slide. So we put on a series of events during the year, such as the Rainbow Resource Fair, previously hosted by the Pride Center, Dragonland, Lavender Graduation, and the Coming Out monologues. We also have a resource guide available on our website that has resources for all kinds of students and community members. It includes student-specific resources, health and mental health resources, including apps on campus, anything from housing, food insecurity, and of course, for strategic resources, it's accessible for anyone following on that. We also do a lot to integrate with the community, both with different on campus, like supports. We run a program called Tried Mentor for only mentor students in their first year of college, and we try to interface with Grand Constitution. And then lastly, we have a long list of affiliated orgs that they're not showing up on screen, so they're on our website. Thank you very much for your attention. I think I can do questions.
All right, the speaker is now open for a period of question and answer. Do I see any questions for our presenter? Seeing none, we thank her. So, do you have anyone else for open forum?
Have Samantha Bayless on behalf of Carpool.
Here's the presentation. Okay. So 2 minutes, so we have one.
Alright, hi, my name is Samantha Bayless. I'm from Purple Airspace, we speak on the SGA finance, field allocation system. So Purple is an organization of Texas A&M in the SGA 1999. And we serve every member of the Texas A&M community. Our purpose is to provide safe transportation for graduates and and our program is accessible on the back of every student at XUS campus, arguably making us one of the most easily accessible organizations on campus. So SGA allocation is a process we partake in every year, and every year we experience these issues. The initial steps to request funding are very clearly outlined, but the rationale of fund distribution by the finance committee is not transparent, and the appeal process is unorganized and confusing. There is an initial objective rubric filled out by the finance committee for each organization based on merit or presentation, which sounds good, but it is used exclusively for them to determine the order in which the organizations are spoken about. After that, the fund allocation is entirely at the discretion of the finance committee, and organizations are unable to get any feedback on the rationale of the decision, how to improve for next year, or what changes could be made to be considered more deserving of the funds. During the deal meeting, which took place last week, the only question that the committee chair was able to answer of any of the appealing committees or commission was the score we received on the rubric. We were also able to request the rubric itself, but any question about the rationale of the actual fund allocations was not answered. The SGA fund allocation process needs to be made more transparent and open, and the allocation process needs to be codified to be more clear, so that all commissions and committees of SGA can be confident in fund allocations decisions made each year, and they can be best equipped to improve for years to come.
All right, with that, the presenter is now open for a period of questions. So I see any questions. I see Chairman Morrison.
Chairman Morrison, finance, what currently defines is not qualified?
When the allocations process goes to appeal, there's no, like when we start with appeals, or with the initial process, it's all very clear. We go, there's a presentation, we're asked to fill out an Excel form, we send it to the station, there's a meeting, it's all very step by step every year, treasurer ledgers, that is. But when we go to appeals, it's sort of devolves. It's like we're told to ask for a meeting, it was with you this year, and then actually you're not seeking meetings, and then we're sort of being told to email you that we want appeals, but then we're all hearing through word of mouth of the other organizations that some of us are being asked for specific information, and some of us aren't being asked for anything at all. And then the day before last Tuesday, a approval form was sent out, so suddenly it was an official process, and then about half the people here weren't asked by anything at all, so whether or not it was required was never clear. So it's just the whole application process. If that could be like a determined free process, I would love if that was out there.
Do I see any other questions for our presenter? I see Senator Steele.
Senator Steele, off campus caucus. So, as you see, we do have the budget on old business for this meeting. Are you making any recommendations towards how to vote or how to approach that legislation?
So the budget itself I think has. We've gone back and forth and there are a lot of issues that certain organizations have because of the whole process. So being able to pick it apart and unbundling within this meeting is probably not feasible. And I think just changing the process so that in future years, we can just be confident that the bill is correct. I think it's just a better option than trying to perfect it right now.
I was just like,
I see Senator Applewhite, and this will be the last question.
Sarah, I love it. Well, would you think that it would be fair to say that SGA needs a bigger budget?
Oh, absolutely. I think there's a specific. I'm not gonna claim words for it, because I don't know. I know, I believe that we're teaching us to go to.
Please wrap up in 1 second for us.
There's supposed to be $1 per student that is the budget, and that is not what it is. There are more than 2,000 students there. So it might be more.
And we thank the presenter. President Patel, do you have anyone else for open forum?
Yes, I have Chloe Ramirez on behalf of the SGA.
You have 2 minutes starting at ours.
Howdy, Senate. My name is Chloe Ramirez, and I'm the SGA Diversity Commissioner. I want to first thank you for being here, but I also want to bring your attention to the allocation and appeal process. I want to first acknowledge that the Finance Committee is not given a fair budget. This is an outside issue, and there are people who are working on this, and I acknowledge that. However, this is still an unfair process. Chapter 501, the SGA Allocation Regulations Act, outlines the finance chair and committee should go about informing the commission and committee about funds, how to request them, the PowerPoint instructions, the rubric, and the timeline. We know this works because it benefits everybody. All parties are knowledgeable, and every organization was able to ask questions and provide the finance committee with the information requested in a timely manner. However, the code lacks a section outlining or reference point for committees and organizations to refer to and follow. Organizations were told different steps and procedures of how the appeal process, which was resolved around 6:30 p.m. on Friday, 4 days before it was due, by the chair sending out a Google form to fill out the items of follow the line items, appeals, and reasoning. The entire process presented confusion and a stressful environment for all parties. The lack of code would lead the actual distribution of money to the finance committee, but I would like to bring your attention to what that means for organizations asking for allocation. The rubric provides ranking of organizations and outlined in the SGA code. But afterwards, where there is a lack of code, it is the discretion of the finance committee to allocate $50,000 to an allocated, which is allocated without guidance, explanation, and transparency. The result is a skewed distribution of funds, confusion, and disorganization between both parties without the access to a transparent explanation as to why the funds were allocated the way they were.
All right, with that, our presenter is now open for a period of question and answer. Do I see any questions for our presenter? I see Senator Applewhite.
Sarah, do you think that it would be fair to say that the finance process is really difficult to allocate the $50,000, which, as you said, was an incredibly small budget? You think that is an incredibly difficult process to allocate that in order to appease and please each committee?
Yeah, like as I said, the finance committee has a very hard job and they don't have a fair budget. But that still creates an unfair environment because they can't do what they're asking. However, they still set a goal of asking for $100,000 in requests, which is double the budget they are initially given, which still presents a problem at the source.
Not great. I see Chairman Morrison.
Chairman Morrison, Finance, do you feel that you had sufficient amount of time to say your public?
Yes, as somebody who's not involved in Senate directly and does not know the process, I spent most of my time trying to figure out what I was doing, how it needed to be worded, and what the process actually was. I appreciate your communication through emails and what you were able to do, but I would have appreciated a more face-to-face conversation because we are dealing with such a serious matter, since it is our main source of income for the diversity commission.
Do I see any other questions for the presenter? Seeing none, we thank the presenter for her time. President Patel, do we have anyone else for open forum?
I have Claire James on behalf of Aggie Recruitment.
like 2 minutes starting. Howdy, my name is Claire James and I'm here on behalf of the Agri Group as committee chair in our first reading regarding the creation of bill and processes of 2024. Our organization hosts 2 conferences a year, costing more than $60,000 each. Last year at our SEAL conference, we hosted 150 potential Aggies. 57% of these individuals then went on to attend Texas A&M, totaling nearly an additional $2 million for this current school year. That is our impact on the student body and the number 1 question posed in the application report. Our organization was denied funding for university mandated policies, as well as other items such as food and transportation, while other organizations received our entire award for these single line items. I'm not able to compare as we all serve different purposes under SGA. However, other organizations receive as high as a quarter of the budget. This process was great on each SGA committee and their employees. ARC is asking to create a more transparent and fair process. A process that provides individuals support and justification for each decision by the this process. That way, organizations are able to improve. Specifically, how decisions regarding university mandated policies versus supplies and materials are evaluated. Each year, our organization is continually disappointed and left with no answers of how to increase our opportunities for funding in the following years. Other organizations saw an increase of over 7,000 additional dollars, while ARC saw a decrease and received grants to no outside funding. We're going to draw attention to these issues and improve the processes for future review. While thankful for the time with the finance committee to help to find a new process to benefit the universe. All right, with that, our presenter is now open for a period of question and answer. Do I see any questions for our presenter? I see Senator Gaines.
Senator Gaines, College of Engineering. As someone who actually attended the SEAL conference, do you believe a lack of funds would lead to less participants for SEAL and WW?
So the purpose of our outside funding is to lower the cost for individuals because of us who have a free weekend or some first served spots that we have. We just want to make it accessible to people who are in the scholarships that we provide. Because a lot of times we have people who apply, say they want a scholarship, and then we don't give them a scholarship, they drop. I see any other questions? I see Senator Williams.
Senator Williams, College of Agricultural Life Sciences. Just a little bit of clarification. What exactly kind of fundraising is like going on within the recruitment committee that is visible to us?
So I'll speak on SEAL because last semester I did. So it was $375 to attend. I would take that money and typically for SEAL we don't make a profit. We usually make a profit with the weekend and any of that money goes straight to like the next profit. It's just kind of like a vicious cycle we've fallen into. Last year we had a really hard time doing things that weren't just conference. Like we come back in the semester and it's just planning the whole time. Then we go for Christmas and then come back and it's the week. So thank you. There's any other questions for Representative? I see Chairwoman Wilhite.
Chairwoman Wilhite, diversity and inclusion. I know you talked about not making any money on SEAL in the past, but have you guys tried to like fix that problem this year? Because I know that goes into your like budget for the conference.
Yes, so we've actually reduced our housing plans. So normally we house people in a hotel, but we've actually been able to partner with cameras. This is off-campus like dormitory type of thing. And so because of that, we have been able to kind of make some money back on those conferences. Last year, in the last 2 years, we haven't, but this last conference we did actually turn out. But it's all about rebuilding the 2 past leadership positions that we've had. We've kind of really hard time catching up on what we've lost. All right, with that, we thank the presenter for her time. Okay. Do you have anyone else for open forum?
I have Kelsey Cornell on behalf of Student Body.
Okay. I go 2 minutes beginning at housing.
Howdy. Hey guys, I'm making some formal, but I am the academic affairs chair here, if you have not met me yet. I came to talk to y'all today to make you aware that October is National Bullying Prevention Month. Specifically, Wednesday, October 9th, which is our very next Senate meeting, is the specific day for bullying awareness.
So I would like to encourage each and every single one of y'all to wear orange that day, which I know is probably not a color you have in your closet, but if you do, just even have a little bit. This is a topic that's very near to my heart. I did my Girl Scout Gold Award project on anti-bullying. So I just wanted to make you all aware of this, and I also encourage you to speak to anybody else you know and any of your boards to also wear orange that day. Thank you.
All right, with that, our presenter is now open for question and answer. Do I see any questions for our presenters? Seeing none, we thank her for her time. Pro Tem Patel, do you have anyone else for open forum?
We do not.
All right. With that, we will now move into the approval of the 9/11/2024 meeting minutes. We will attend to this via general consent. Do I see any objection to the approval of these minutes? Seeing none of these minutes are passed. With that, we will now move into there's an addition to the agenda that we voted on IA. We will now move into the swearing in of our newly elected senators led by our Chief Justice. So if our new senators will please come down to Lawrence. All right, and just real quick, we stand for swearing in.
Please raise your right hand. I state your name, do solemnly swear. To faithfully execute to the best of my ability. Duties of the office of, state your office. Texas A&M University Student Government Association. To uphold the honor of the same. All times to protect the welfare of the student body. And to promote good relations between the students. And those concerned with the university. So help me God.
All right, we congratulate our new senators in the room. And with that, we'll now move into a period of old business, beginning with SB 7703, the SGA budget fiscal year 2025 bill. If the author will please come to the board. About 10 minutes starting at
Howdy, Senate. Howdy. I'm gonna get into this real fast. One quick point.
Serious. Okay.
Howdy, Senate. Finance. We've got to take a look at the bill, and I'm gonna get into some of our specific changes for the code in just a second. But one quick point I wanted to clarify is that as part of the allocation process, the term that we used was we expected $100,000 worth of budget requests, not that we submitted the goal. So real quick, some change here. I added the word financial resources just for a little bit of clarity. And then going through here, we considered fixed appeal and granted in part or in whole 4. We granted an additional $1,800 for operations insurance for carpool. We granted an additional $200 for banners and flyers to the Diversity Commission. We took away a substantial portion, I have the map off the way, but from the Global Leadership Conference on their travel expenses. We granted $250 for archive binders, legislation paper, and paper on the park stock for Student Senate. That's it.
All right, with that, our presenter is now open to a period of question and answer. Do I see any questions for the presenter, for the author? I see Senator Pritzlaw.
Well, on campus caucus, even like one of those presentations that we just saw. I don't know the planning caucus, I've never been involved on the planning committee or any of that, so I'm really just trying to understand. What some of the concerns were, it sounds like you feel probably a little more money there, how do you know that we should trust the committee's decision on this?
For sure, I mean, well, so I can just start with saying that this budget has been unanimously passed by the finance committee every single time. Speaking specifically to the confusion, I'll just talk a little bit about how the appeals process went. But originally, according to the code, senators, members of the executive cabinet, members of the judicial court, and the chief student leaders of the various committees are allowed to submit appeals. And so I sent them all the budget and told them, hey, it's time to submit appeals, not anticipating very many. We ended up getting a greater number of appeals than anticipated. So I decided to standardize it, create a Google form that was sent out to everybody that if you hadn't submitted an appeal, that was the new avenue. And if you'd already submitted an appeal, you were not required to resubmit it. Originally, in the very first email that had like all these details and I had like 4 or 5 different documents attached, the request that they were going to have, I think less than 24 hours to turn around and all appeals in by the September 11th meeting. Upon further reading of the code, that was not something I did not see that support for that in the code, and so I nullified that deadline and just made it within 24 hours. 24 hours of this committee considering appeals. That Google form was sent out Friday evening, and they would have had all the way until Tuesday at 6 p.m. to submit appeals through the Google form, but already had the opportunity to submit appeals in any fashion necessary before that.
I'm Senator Williamson.
Senator William, College of Ag Life Sciences, where budget that becoming adopted university?
Unfortunately, I did not. That was not an initiative that was requested by any SU organization, and so not that we're bound by organizational. We generally make it not appropriate money towards things people aren't asking for. That being said, it'd be something that various committees and organizations have looked into making as opportunities.
I have Senator Conrad next.
Senator Conrad, yes, I know at the beginning of this after I started. So my apologies for any redundant questions, but the one thing that caught my eye was the student allocation. I saw they had $8,000 allocated for their student costs, plus $400 for their student concerts, and then $3,500 for their winter trip. And I know that historically, Stadium England has been part of the fundraising event. I was just wondering what changed in that. I appreciate if they're not fundraising as much or why there's $8,000.
For sure, I don't have the user budget, but it's something exactly that means that the percentage if they would be of the request is pretty much we talked about the rubric a lot earlier. The finance committee is not down by the discretion of the senators as elected by the student body. The credit system, but we made a general effort to align scores on the rubric with percentage of allocation granted. I mean, I can speak specifically to various ones. As for custodian banquet food costs, I can tell you custodian banquet, I mean, we know this is a former fish aid, but it is for all the custodians that say that the costs that are substantially more than $800,000. I'm certain that still have to fundraise a lot for that, but sorry. That's
I think I have Senator Applewhite next.
Sure, so would you say that the I guess non-cohesion of the process that you received a lot of appeals than you expected?
Well, at first would kind of challenge the idea of this platform. I every effort to be incredibly clear and transparent about the entire process. And I think that committees were afforded the information they had with the years. In terms of lack of cohesion, I provided a more standardized process for submitting appeals that had been offered previously.
point of personal privilege.
State your point.
Senator's fuel off campus caucus. I just wanted to say, I looked at the previous budget for fish aid delegation, for the custodian banquet, and it was about $6,000. I just wanted to put that.
Madam Speaker, I have a motion.
Take your motion.
Yeah, Bill Speaker Pro Tem, I move to extend the period of question and answer by 2 minutes.
Seeing that motion has been made and seconded, we'll attempt to do this is undebatable but amendable as to time. We will attempt to approve this via voice vote. All those in favor of extending the time, please say aye. All those opposed? It is the opinion of the chair that the ayes have it, and this motion does pass. We will have 2 more minutes. Do I see any more questions in the agenda? I see Pro Tem Michelle.
You know, Bill Speaker Pro Tem, I was just wondering if you guys have something, how much money, how much I said this before, how much money in total was requested by all of the
I have that right here. 2 seconds. So in total, we had $114,630.77 in request. That number is also going to be at the top of the budget right now, but yes, the $50,000.
Thank you.
I see Senator Rodriguez next.
By the President Paul. And sir, also, FBA advisor served as.
I have Senator Conrad next.
Were there, Senator Conrad, were there any requests or appeals that were not granted that were critical to the function of, like extra flyers or business cards, but actually critical to?
It's hard to determine that because that becomes a bit of a subjective guideline. I do not know of anything off the top of my head that was not granted that would prevent a committee from performing.
Are there any more questions for the author?
That being said, it's possible, but that is not true.
Do I see any more questions for our author? With that, we thank him for his time. All right, we will now move into a period of debate. We will start a debate against this piece. Do I see any debate against this piece? Seeing none, we'll now move into the first round debate for this piece. So I see a debate for this piece. I see Senator. So 2 minutes and 30 seconds starting.
Hey, Sarah Apple, cool. I want to push back on the notion that this process is not fair. This process that we are having right now is the very nature that makes this process fair. We have the opportunity to discuss with debate, with amendments, what we want to change, and so y'all have the power to do that. I definitely encourage y'all to do that if you think there's a committee that is being treated unfairly. But after looking through the entire bill, I'm extremely confident that this is very in line with what needs to happen in order to successfully and effectively allocate these funds to the student government association committees. And a lot of the funds that have been appropriated have been for some of the most effective SGA committees and some of the most impactful SGA events. So I'm in complete support of this, but if you are not, please make an amendment, please debate against this, because this is what makes this process fair.
How do you?
You'll do Senator Hurt, good Senator.
We have 1 minute and 21 seconds starting at Tommy.
Madam Speaker, howdy students, Senator Hurt, off campus caucus. Just again, wanting to go over the process. Yes, there's the main code stipulation, but that's a rule of regulation problem, not a finance problem. We have the ability to discussed, and we discussed that link, and I think we should have a bill. Because frankly, but these organizations need the money to operate. I think this has been a good addressal of what actually democracy and good democracy works, addressing what needs to be changed. And we can have that discussion, but that should not be the discussion for this bill. It should pass, and we can have that discussion. And with that, I yield to Joey Morrison.
You will have 43, seeing that the floor has been yielded to Chairman Morrison, you will have 43 seconds beginning at
Madam Speaker. Chairman Morrison, Finance, howdy.
Howdy.
Talk a lot about the bill, but I just want to defend for 1 second the discretion of the finance. It's like, yes, the rubric is structure how we do it, but the money is appropriate at the special finance because you, the Senate, us, the Senate Finance Committee, is representative of the student body all elected, and that is the best way, in my opinion, to allocate the fees of the students through their own representative as a board system. Or rubric that being bound by that. And with that being said, I yield to.
seeing there were 9 seconds left. We'll get to you. Seeing that the floor has been yielded to, we'll now move into the second round of debate against this piece. To see any debate against this piece. Seeing none, we'll now move into the second round debate for this piece. I see debate for this piece. I see Senator Steele. So 2 minutes and 30 seconds beginning at how.
Thank you, Chair. Senator Steele off Kansas Caucus, howdy. So I think there were some pretty good points brought up by the different members that came down and spoke at different commissions and committees. I think that's something we need to look at in terms of rules and regulations and perhaps in terms of code change. However, I think that voting against this potentially or pushing it back to be tabled just kind of harms the entire SGA as a whole. We need this funding, we need it quickly, and I think the issues that we need to solve are an issue with lack of funding and perhaps some code change. But I don't think the anything brought up against the bill was necessarily against what the bills had in the text, more so some code issue. So with that, I yield to the.
All right, seeing that the floor has been yielded to, it is the opinion of the chair that debate has become one-sided, and we will now move into a period of voting led by Pro Tem Patel. So do this via standing vote. All those in favor of passage of SB 7702, please rise if you're able.
All right, when I point y'all, please sit down.
All those opposed? By a vote of 47-0, this piece does pass. Look forward to all of the committees, branches, and commissions getting their allocations for the year. And what a personal privilege. I think the Dr. Pepper question is a great question for Chair Chu. I think that sounds like a great project for our Student Services Committee. With that, we'll now move into a period of new business. With that, we will now move into a period of new business, starting with reading SB 7704, the presidential investiture of General Retired Mark A. Welsh bill. And with that, I'll be ceding the chairship to Chairman Armstrong.
Thank you. Well, what are you now?
Still
You still speaker, yes, Speaker Blackburn. You have a 10-minute communication.
Well, howdy, Senate.
Howdy.
Speaker Blackburn. So this bill is on the presidential investiture of President Welch. And this is something that I was asked to write by the office of the president. And so I'll kind of give an overview of the purpose of the bill and then I'll highlight a few aspects. And so the purpose of this bill is really for us to charge the student body with attending and participating in the investiture of General Welsh. And so some background, Texas A&M University is honored to celebrate the formal installation of General retired Mark A. Welsh III as its 27th president on Friday, October 25th, 2024, in an investiture ceremony. During the investiture ceremony, President Welsh will be presented with the presidential medallion, symbol of responsibility to the university. Just go down a little bit. To inspire, mentor, and serve the students, faculty, and staff of Texas A&M. President Welsh will also cast his vision for the future of the university. And so, as a whole, this ceremony will inspire a lot of tradition and memorabilia and things like that. And so, this whereas portion kind of gives a background on the ceremony itself and kind of some of the symbolism in it. And then going into therefore let it be enacted. The Student Senate recognizes and applauds the work of the Office of President and the members of the Investiture Committee for their part in planning and organizing this historic event. The Student Senate charges each and every current student to attend and participate in the investiture ceremony, either in person, via the live stream, or by attending the IGP picnic in Ivy Park. The Student Senate commits to sharing all information regarding the ceremony with the student body and asks the executive branch to collaborate sharing information with the student body via social media. And then this bill is going to be sent to the entire student body. General will take on the jerk and the baton. And so with that kind of overview, this bill will be sent to committees, but that's kind of the purpose. And with that, I'm looking for questions.
With that, Speaker Blackburn is open for a 5-minute period of Q&A. Do I see any questions? Senator Applewhite.
Senator Applewhite, would you entertain adding third to the short capital
Yes, of course.
Any other questions? Back to Senator Andrew Applewhite. Senator Applewhite.
Is there a reason why this is not a resolution instead?
It's a bill because there's a specific ask of the student body, ask of the student senate, and ask of the executive branch associated with it.
Any more questions for Speaker Blackburn? I see Senator Steele.
Question, Senator Steele, it says copy of the bill is saying university student body. Just to be clear, that utilizing full capacity.
Yes, it would be. Well, when we get to that point, Constance Solomon and I will be looking to make sure that it's adopted correctly, but every student sees.
Thank you.
I see Chair too.
Chair, Student Services, are there any other ways that student body will be reached out to other than the full term?
So part of this bill, we're gonna share all information, in the bill, we're gonna share all information, regarding teacher honors and teacher. But there's also been posts already shared with Texas A&M social media, as well as on your website, there's already information on the teacher, and I believe some students also receive emails with information on it as well.
Senator Applewhite.
Senator Applewhite, do you think that say copy of the bill to share
I think truthfully, I think there's no good way to reach 77,000 students. I think that's something every SGA for the past 5 to 10 years have been trying to figure out, and I don't think we're very different. But I do think sitting as a book, whether or not they read the piece, they're gonna read the subject line. They're gonna read some aspect of it, and if that's all they read their attention to then open it, that's all I'm asking for. And by sending it via book mail, I've done my due diligence.
Any more questions for Speaker Blackburn? Seeing none, Q&A is concluded. It'll be sent to Academic Affairs, and I'll see the chairship back to Speaker Blackburn.
All right, with that, we will now move into SA 7703, the Student Body Vice President Act.
last time. All right, Senate. All right, so I know this is a pretty substantial piece, and I've reached out to several of you already about this piece, got some comments. I hope we can have a pretty good dialogue and discussion, and even more so when we get this into committee. So a little bit of backstory on the piece. This was originally introduced in the 76th session. Some of you were there for that. It was passed, vetoed, then ultimately failed after the veto for a variety of reasons. And now I've kind of refreshed the piece a little bit, and now we're reintroducing it in the 77th session. So without further ado, I think I'll get into the specifics of the piece, talk a little bit about why I think this piece is important, and then we can talk about some of the criticisms I've gotten from the piece and how I think those can be rectified in committee. So without further ado, we can scroll down just a bit. Just the way that is. All right, okay, that's the first part. So that's going to tell you the duties and the powers of the student body vice president. So the student body vice president will be an elected position that would serve under the student body president. Their main duty is to aid and assist the student body president in the discharging of their duties. This could be any variety of things, much like the EDP does currently, but also would include things like meetings, talking with faculty, admin, as well as in public settings as well, because as an elected position, students have selected someone that they'd like to represent them, and they've been given that legitimacy to do that in those spaces. And the other main thing the student body vice president would be responsible for is standing in with the student body president is unable or unwilling to serve their duties. Obviously, we had impeachment last session, but even beyond impeachment, if you're sick, if you're on a trip, got a lot of tests or something, if you're at another meeting and you want to go to another meeting as well, student body vice president can fulfill those roles and represent the 80,000 students at Texas A&M and liaise with hundreds, probably thousands of faculty the student body president meets with, and the hundreds of thousands of former students that the student body president meets. You can scroll down a little bit more. Keep going. These are just updating student body vice president places where the student body president is listed. Keep going. All right, right there, it just talks about the cabinet, how they advise and aid the president in the selection of cabinet. A lot of random spots to my president. So here is about elections. So this is kind of an important part of this piece. It is under the student body president and the student body vice president would run as a joint ticket. This is to prevent an instance where a student body president perhaps running with their own group and student body vice president with their own another group are forced to work together on their own cabinet. That's not how we do it with government. It's not how it would lead to a conflicting of personalities, conflicts of interest that would not be conducive to an effective leadership in student government. So this seeks, by having them run together on a joint ticket, the idea is that they run kind of that joint administration. It also allows them to reach a greater number of students. We can get to that in a little bit. So it keeps going a little bit. We met with the election commission last session to talk about specifics on how you file for that. Basically, you're filing for two major races for a total of $40. Budget for the entire race is still $1,500. Obviously, if you're campaigning together, you're going to be using the same resources. It wouldn't make sense to have two separate budgets for a ticket. Keeps going a little bit more. One last section here. The last section there is about more specifics on the cabinet. It introduces the student body vice president as her own part of the executive branch. It mentions the specific cabinet positions, removes the EDP from being a required cabinet position for the student body president to appoint for the Senate. So I know there's not a lot of information, but I think it's important to understand how this bill works. So then, important in the value of this bill. So why bring it up really? By having an elected student body vice president, we're more effective in representing student body. In the context of campaigns, of course, you can have a student body president from one group in their circle of their network, and you can select a student body vice president from runs in different circles. Obviously,
with only around 10 to 15% of the student body voting in our elections, we're clearly missing a huge portion of campus. And I think that having a larger student body present campaign would allow us to expand the reach that these campaigns have and the engagement that the Student Government Association has with the students. It starts with elections, right? If you voted for someone, you're like, hey, I wonder what they're doing in the student government. So when we have more people involved, larger campaigns, we can support students. And that ultimately serves the goals of the Student Government Association. And once you're in office, you have 2 elected student representatives that represent all 80,000 students that can meet with all of these different stakeholders and different groups of campus more effectively than just one person, right? One person representing 80,000 students to literally hundreds of thousands of other students, former students, administrators, faculty. That is a tall order. So splitting that duty, having 2 people doing that, taking on those tasks, is going to allow the student body president, the executive branch SBA, to be more effective in that. All right, so the last point, one of the criticisms that I've gotten from this piece is it's talked a lot about the qualifications, and it's a good point. Historically, our executive vice presidents have been very well qualified and effective in their duties, and I don't think that electing a student body vice president is necessarily going to undermine the executive branch's ability to effectively discharge their duties. Of course, they still select their cabinet. They can appoint whomever they like and will confirm them in the Senate. So that's where we can suss out those qualifications and find people that will effectively lead the executive. Have trust in the student body, believe that they can effectively select someone that they believe will effectively represent them as student body vice president and serve well with the student body president to discharge the duties of the executive branch. So I know that's probably not going to answer all of your questions. I'm sure you have more. I think there's plenty of avenues for compromise here. If qualifications is still something we're concerned about, maybe that means introducing a higher threshold of qualifications for the student body vice president, or maybe that means inserting another cabinet official that the student body president is required to appoint. So there's a lot of different opportunities here, and I think the benefits of this bill and engaging more students is a noble goal that we should all strive for in the Student Government Association. I think we can achieve those benefits without potentially losing out on very well qualified candidates that can serve in the executive branch. I think we can have the best of both worlds, and I think that passing this piece is going to be very effective. Don't take my word for it. The Division of Student Affairs this summer came out with a list of recommendations that they suggested that we include in our vote. This piece is actually one of them, including an elected student body vice president. And it's also very common practice across the SEC. And I know we do things a little different here in Texas, and using everyone else's example for student government doesn't necessarily mean that we have to do it too. But if it works for them, there's no reason we can't promote some ideas and reap the benefits that I think we will reap in this particular piece. So I know you guys probably have some questions. I'd love to hear and answer all of them. And please come to committee so we can hammer this out, get some compromise. And this is not the budget of the top of me, it's tough for all of you guys. If you guys don't come to committee, we don't discuss it, we're going to be with this piece. So I really encourage you guys to engage. I really encourage you guys to take this step forward. The 77th session could be the session that introduces the student body vice president. I think that's super exciting and a really cool opportunity. And I encourage you guys all to engage with that. Thank you. I love your questions.
All right, with that, the author is now up for questions. I have Chairman Morrison first. Please direct all questions to Pro Tem Patel so I can keep track of them.
Chairman Morrison, Finance, for those of us who served in the 76th session, they said updates, please, what substance are we doing? And 76th session?
Yeah, probably.
Also,
go ahead, sorry.
And also, as further question to that, why do you think this piece should be reintroduced now?
Yeah, I'll answer the first question first. The biggest substantial change that was included was the duties and powers portion at the very top. That part's included in the Constitution section of the code. If you guys are not familiar with the code, there's a whole lot of stuff in the finalized. The Constitution is one of the very first parts. This would include the student body vice president into the Constitution. To ask your second part, I believe One of the main reasons that the Student Body Vice President Act failed last session was because of how late it was introduced. So close to elections, at the very end of the fall semester, it didn't give enough time for student body president candidates didn't give them enough time to adequately adjust their campaigns for something this substantial. So I think that was one of the main reasons. So to kind of avoid that potential harm, I introduced it now as early as possible, knowing that there's going to be disagreements, pause, so that we have time to hammer out the details and get a really good act that will deliver some powerful benefits.
I have Pro Tem Patel next.
Pro Tem Patel, thank you for your presentation. I was just wondering, seeing how much this would affect the executive branch, I'm just wondering, we've been in contact and conversation with the executive branch, so.
Absolutely. So President Coppinger was, there he is. He was actually at the rules and regulations meeting when we discussed the Division of Student Affairs recommendations. And he voiced some of his opinions in favor of introducing something like this. I think for many of the reasons I articulated, he's done a great job this session trying to engage with students more. And I think we're on the same page there. And I think having this piece will get us even closer to that goal.
I have Senator Horton next.
Senator Gordon, Senator Griswold, talk further on
yeah, I know it's pretty diverse across the SEC and across other schools. The way the roles and specific duties of this their vice presidents, some are in charge of kind of like their Senate or even more like external relations. It kind of varies their specific duties. I don't have a ton of great examples. It might be a great idea to talk to some of the students that went on the SEC exchange. I was not there, but there's a lot of different ways that they implement it.
I see Senator Applewhite next.
Senator Applewhite first of all. So would you be in favor of a potential amendment to this that would take away the Speaker of the Senate instead of the Vice President as the Speaker of the Senate?
That is an interesting proposal, and something I'd like to discuss in committee.
If I see any other questions for the presenter? Seeing none, we thank him for his time, and this piece will be sent to the Rules and Regulations Committee. All right, with that, we will now move into our period of open session. Do I see any motions? I see Chairman Armstrong.
Chairman Armstrong, R&R, I move to consider the fall 2024 Omnibus 2 Act.
Seeing this motion has been made and seconded, it is undebatable and unamendable and will require a 2/3 vote. Those come to us via general consent. Do I see any objections to the consideration of this piece? Seeing none, this motion does pass. We'll move to consideration of this piece. All right, we'll have 10 minutes beginning at Howdy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. How is that? Chairman Armstrong, R&R. Those of you who were at the previous couple of meetings remember fall 2024 Omnibus 1 Act. We now have the sequel, just as good as the first. And I've been pretty good to go, finding things that need to be refreshed, as is my entire job. And so this act just wraps up a few more. There's kind of random revisions.
State your point. Bandit use. Let's look at that. Okay, you guys know.
One of personal privilege, we're gonna tell.
Get your point.
I have access to this document. I can make a copy of it, but
So I'll take a look.
In open session already, is it not?
It is open session, but it, if I'm correct, it's like a link to it, you can have access to it. So,
I just updated the sharing permissions for anyone with the link. Yep.
Okay.
All right, you still have to fix it.
Got it. Okay, like I said, just a few various code revisions, that didn't make sense to have their whole act just for one thing, it's by smush them all together, do it all at once. The first one, enacted one, it talks about the certification of elections. This is something that I talked consistently with Chief Justice Levenwell about, previously, talking about codifying, when and how the Chief Justice actually goes about codifying or certifying elections. And the code just says the Chief Justice will certify elections, identify somebody when it happens. And last year, well, in previous sessions, we've run into confusion about when that happens, on what time scale. And so you can see the wording. Also, for those that are new, this is the first week of this hack, it will go to my R&R committee meeting 1 week from tomorrow at 7 p.m. Told us, and we'll do like revisions and all kinds of great discussion about it. So we won't be like voting on anything. Don't worry, you will have time to review. That talks about the certification of elections by Jake. Basically, just clarifying when they need to do it. Okay, the next couple of enacted statements. Get rid of the provisions for the Take Banks Aggie Core Values Exemplification of Work Act, which was established in 2020. As it says, but we haven't done this in the whole time I've been here. This is my 4th session. We haven't done this, and I don't remember hearing about it happening even before that. So I don't know when the last time this happened was, but it doesn't make sense to me to have a couple pages of code taken up for something that we're not doing. I would love, if this is something that we really care about, to maybe come back up in a further session. If further constituency affairs want to bring it back, they're more than welcome to, but it makes sense to me to strike it. Moving along, the next thing, striking chapter 201 of title 4, subtitle 2, which is the Liaison Establishment Act. This is something from 2013, basically establishing a team of, quote, liaisons to the Senate. What does that mean, you ask? Well, it doesn't say what that means. Just a bunch of people from other orgs kind of give their opinions to the Senate. Again, I have never heard of this actually being done. Maybe it was in 2013. Who knows when it ended? So, striking it, again, if we want to bring it back, we're more than welcome to do that. Just clean up the code. Further on, chapter 302 of subtitle, or title 4, subtitle 3, talking about the J-Court and how it functions. There's just a section that's redundant. It talks about when a JAG is twice verbatim, so I just believe it doesn't supposed to be there. And then the mission statement is there twice. And then correcting numbers. And that's it. So there's kind of some housekeeping. We'll love to answer questions if you have them right now. Otherwise, committee meeting is a week from tomorrow at 7 p.m. Told us we can have it all out there and be right back here 2 weeks. So that. Any questions?
All right, with that, the author is now open for a period of questions. So I see any questions for the author? I see Chairman Chewy.
Chair Chief, why do you think that the liaison have to be?
Man, I got all kinds of things on the liaison act. It's super vague as to what they are and what they do. It also is unclear as to what powers they have and who selects them. It appears that it was created as a lobbying group with Super President at the time, because they're selected primarily by the only by the Super President, and then come to Senate meetings and like give reports and give opinions. And so that's what it appears to be. But again, I've heard it being used a long time, so it seems to be redundant. Yep.
I see any other questions for the author? Chairman Chewy.
Chair Chief Student Services, do you not think that we could like revamp it and use it again, being that like it might be able to put more attention towards student senate where attention may be needed, and that's where the elections.
Yeah, I think specifically with the liaison council thing, I think the thought process of involving outside organizations in Senate and having their opinions heard, we extensively heard it earlier today at open forum. That I think open forum fulfills what this is trying to do. in a much more free and open way, not in selecting specific representatives, because as long as you select specific representatives, there are going to be other boards who don't have that same ability. With open forum, any student at all can come and speak. I think that's a much more equal way of doing things. This also seems like it would be really, really easy to so those are the things. Thank you. Thank you.
Christine, there are questions for the author. Senator Applewhite.
Sarah, what? Pretty cool. Which do you think better sequel? You have to drive back for the omnibus too.
And that truly is a hard question to answer. I imagine we'll find out when we vote in 2 weeks.
I see any other questions for the author? Seeing none, we thank him for this time, and this piece will be sent to the Rules and Regulations Committee. For motion, I see Senator Steele.
Senator Steele, I'll kick the call. I motion to consider the outreach exploration.
Seeing that this motion has been made and seconded, it is undebatable and undebatable.
Debatable and amendable.
It is debatable and amendable.
Unamendable. Debatable and unamendable.
It is debatable and unamendable and will require a, yes, state your point. I'm confused.
To reconsider a motion, you have to vote on the balance side.
I'm gonna defer to my rules, Madam Chair.
Can you restate it? To move the motion to reconsider, you have to vote on the balance side.
I think so.
One word.
Yes.
Senator Steele did not ensure us that you voted on the balance side.
That's correct.
1 second, stand back. We're gonna take a 2-minute stand at ease. That means stay in your seat, be quiet, okay?
So to make a motion to reconsider, you have to vote. Sorry.
Consider.
Okay.
Well, yeah, you're gonna do it.
And we're back to order. State your motion.
I'm permission to withdraw my motion.
Granted. All right, Senator Steele's motion has been made and seconded, and it is debatable but unamendable and will require a majority vote. They'll attempt to this via general consent. Do I see any objections to the consideration of this motion?
Objection.
Seeing that the objection has been made, we will now do this via a standing vote.
Yeah, it's debated.
Move to debate. Objection has been made. We will now move into debate on this motion, starting with debate against this motion. By seeing debate against this motion. I saw Chairman Armstrong first.
It's really not.
About 2 minutes and 30 seconds starting at how.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Senate. Chairman Armstrong, rules regs. Very simply, if you go and read the bill, this is, and the reason I'm debating against the consideration and I'm just debating against the bill is because that would have to happen in 2 weeks, and I just want to deal with it now, not in 2 weeks. If you go and read it, the bill is more or less redundant, tasking people to do their jobs, things that they already do. Tasking the election or external relations vice president and the constituency affairs chair to investigate outreach, which is what they do. And so this seems frivolous and redundant. And I would urge you to vote against considering to go to the next. Thank you.
How do you yield?
To the floor.
Seeing that the floor has been yielded to, we are now moving to the first round debate for this motion. I see Senator Steele first. So it's 2 minutes and 30 seconds starting at.
Senator Steele, off campus caucus, howdy. It's great to be down here again. To call a spade a spade, I don't believe this is redundant. So what this bill specifically does, I would have explained if, we considered it, or hopefully when we consider it. What this is tasking the External Relations Committee and the Constituency Affairs Committee to do is specifically examine different and new types of outreach. So this is types of outreach we haven't done before or haven't tried before, and brainstorming different ideas for that outreach. Usually the most common type of outreach we do is tabling. For a campus as large as ours, tabling can get a little messy sometimes, and sometimes we don't have enough manpower. The point of this bill is simply to look at new and unique ways to outreach and reach the student body. So I don't believe this is redundant. With that, I yield to Senator Fritzl.
Seeing that Senator Fritzl has been yielded to, you will have 1 minute to make sentences.
Fritzl on campus caucus. This will be going up for a first reading, and then the committee would discuss it and then decide to vote on it. So it doesn't waste that much of our time. I yield to Senator Hurt.
Seeing that Senator Hurt has been yielded to, you will have 1 minute, 40 seconds.
Senator Hurt, off campus caucus, House Senate. Talking about student outreach, we took discussed a little bit with the Vulcan mail voting system. Is this the most efficient means of reaching students? We don't know. That's why we're going to explore alternatives. This is what this legislation does. Our job is to task and engage the student body. I think that is important. Legislation and it's part of one of the main concerns about our student government, having clarity, having that transparency that many individuals brought up earlier. That starts with outreach. That starts with making sure that people know who's representing them, making sure that they understand what the student government does. And that's what it's really doing. I asked it to vote just to consider it, not even pass it per se, just even to even ask this question. With that, I go to Senator Gaines.
Seeing that Senator Gaines has been yielded to, you will have 55 seconds starting at Howdy.
Engineering caucus, howdy. All we're doing today is considering this, and at least hopefully considering this. We were all elected for a reason, each and every one of us, to represent the student body. And I yield to the floor.
Seeing that the floor has been yielded to, we are now moving to a second round debate against this motion. Let's see debate against this motion. I had Chairman Armstrong first. So 2 minutes and 30 seconds starting at
Thank you, Speaker. Howdy, Senate. Guys, this bill, the more I read it, the more I notice that it's more or less asking people to go and think about something. Which doesn't, and then to write up their thoughts and bring it back to Senate. Sounds like we don't need a bill to have people think about how to do outreach and come speak in open forum about outreach. In fact, we have people, the chair of constituency affairs and the vice president of external relations, who's expressed purpose. Their whole reason that they're here in their jobs is to think about outreach and to talk to the Senate about outreach. This seems redundant, and as the good senator before said, we were elected to do real work that impacts students and doesn't waste our time. I think we should move on to stuff that doesn't waste our time. Now, you may be wondering, aren't you wasting time by debating against the consideration of this piece? And I am, but there's a reason for that. And the reason for that is that we are early in the session. We're all kind of learning how this works. We have new senators who just got sworn in tonight who straight up have never been in a Senate. So I think it's important to outline that some legislation is worth talking about in a meeting and some of it just isn't. And I don't think this is worth considering. I yield to Chair Morrison.
Seeing that Chair Morrison has been yielded to, you will have 1 minute and 11 seconds beginning at Howdy.
Chairman Morrison, Finance. Howdy, Senate. I echo a lot of what Chairman Armstrong just said, but I think when I read this, it looks like something that can be. I think, and if you don't have Vice President Johnson's phone number, you can go on the student government website. I think Vice President Johnson Chairman Applewhite have done an incredible job of student engagement and continue to look for new ways to engage and reach the student body. And I think setting them up an additional meeting and just thinking about it, writing about the things that are thinking about it, like Chairman Chuck said, with that I yield to President Purcell.
Seeing that, President Purcell, to you up, 31 seconds starting at how.
Hi, President Patel, sorry, I was just thinking of the way I want to get attention. So echoing a little bit of what they're saying, I think this bill doesn't have a lot to say. I know that they've been doing a lot of outreach, using a resolution amending what was it called? The event campaigns. That was hugely successful beyond like everything that we could have expected. They're doing a great job. I think a bill that presents a new idea of outreach would be great. I would love if we saw that. But a bill saying, hey, these people's jobs is to think about the ways of outreach.
Please start by
So outreach is redundant and kind of pointless.
All right, with that, we'll move into our second round debate for this motion. I see debate 4, I see Senator Steele. You have 2 minutes and 30 seconds starting at Howdy.
Senator Steele, all campus topics. Howdy. I actually thoroughly encourage everybody in here to look at the bill. The bill does 2 things. One, it tasks External Relations Committee and Constituency Affairs Committee to have a meeting to discuss new types of outreach. You can look at the code, that is not something they are supposed to do, or that is not something they are tasked to do by the code. The second thing they do, and more importantly, is to write a report to present to the Student Senate on their recommendations for new types of outreach. Constituency Affairs Chair and the External Relations Vice President are experts, or they are experts on outreach. Not everybody in here is an expert on outreach. However, it is our decision on what type of outreach we go through as the Student Senate, as the legislative body of the Student Senate. That's important to give y'all that information and recommendations by experts on the matter. This is not redundant. This is not something that would happen without this bill, or at least without this bill being mentioned. So I think we should at least consider this, and if we want to make this theoretically less redundant, I think we could do that in committee. With that, I yield to Senator Pritzlaff.
Seeing that Senator Pritzlaff has been yielded to, you have 1 minute and 6 seconds starting at Howdy.
Senator Pritzlaff, on campus caucus, I do find it a little irritating that we're debating a case here.
You're recognized.
I moved the previous question.
He doesn't have the floor.
If they believe it's interruptible.
As to the point of information, I have the floor. You have to have the floor to move the previous question.
My understanding is that that is an interruptible motion. That is not.
Order. Chair Chu, student services, and Senator not take.
That is true, so unfortunately you are out of order.
Madam Speaker, I'm in previous question.
Seeing that Senator Pritzlaff has stayed the same caucus and made the motion, and it has been seconded. We will now move into this motion. It's undebatable and unamendable and will require a 2/3 vote. We will attempt to do this via a voice vote. All those in favor of move to previous question, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? It is the opinion of the chair that the ayes have it. And we will immediately move into the voting on the consideration of this piece. This will require a majority vote, and considering the nature, we'll do this via standing vote led by Pro Tem Purcell. All those in favor of the consideration of this piece, please rise. All those opposed? By the vote of 15 to 27, this motion does fail.
Speaker, I have a point of personal privilege.
Please state your point.
Chairman Armstrong Garner, just to explain the previous question thing, it is my understanding, welcome correction. My understanding is that point of moving previous question is not an incidental motion and cannot interrupt, when the board is not having. Thanks again.
Cool. All that's been done. We're still in open session, and the floor is now open for motion. Strike any motion. I see Chairman Armstrong.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Chairman Armstrong Garner, I move to consider the vacancy process overhaul.
Seeing that the motion has been made and seconded, this is debatable, unamendable, and we will move into debate for this motion. Start debate against this motion. Do I see debate against this motion? Seeing none, we'll now move to the first round debate for this motion. Do I see debate for this motion? Seeing none, we'll now move into the second round debate against this motion. Do I see debate against this motion? Seeing none, we'll now move into the first round debate for this motion. Do I see debate for this motion? Seeing none, with the opinion of the chair, the debate has become one-sided, and we'll now move into a period of voting. We'll do this via a voice vote. All those in favor for the consideration of the Vacancy Overhaul Act, right, Vacancy Process Overhaul Act, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? It is the opinion of the chair. Sorry, it is the opinion of the chair that debate. Oh my gosh. It is the opinion of the chair that the ayes have it and this motion does pass. We'll have 10 minutes starting at.
You know,
Gonna make quick finish.
vacancy process overhaul. Oh, my swimming before. Did you notice? That's funny. I'm looking at it on my. Look at my laptop. It's there. Oh, there it is. Perfect.
All right, we will have 10 minutes starting.
How does that? Chairman Armstrong, this first reading, second reading, of the 2024 vacancy process overall act, went through our committee this last week and was passed out of committee, so we are now reading for the second time, we'll debate, so this is it. There were no changes made, I don't think there were any changes made, between last meeting and now. And Senator Pritzoff isn't looking at me, so that means there were no changes made. Okay, same thing as last time, it just clarifies what the vacancy process is, how it should be executed, when it should be executed, how we go about all of that. So, no real changes. That open questions.
The author is now open for questions. Do I see any questions for the author? Seeing none, we thank the author for his time. Second reading, we will now move into debate on the piece. We'll start debate against this piece, trying to debate against this piece. Seeing none, we'll now move into the first round debate for this piece. So seeing debate for this piece. Seeing none, we'll now move into the second round debate against this piece. So seeing debate against this piece. Seeing none, we'll now move to second round debate for this piece. So seeing debate for this piece. Seeing none, it is the opinion of the chair that debate has become one-sided. We'll now move into a period of voting led by Pro Tem Patel. This will be done via a standing vote. All those in favor of passing SA 77-2, please rise. All those opposed? By a vote of 44-0, this piece does pass. Yeah. We are still in open session. Chairman Armstrong.
Chairman Armstrong, I move to consider SB 7703, a student fee review bill.
Second.
I think this motion has been made and seconded. This motion is debatable but unamendable, and we're now moving into debate on this motion. We'll start debate against this motion. So I see debate against this motion. Seeing that, we'll now move into debate for this motion. Do I see debate for the consideration of this piece? Seeing none, we'll now move into second round debate against. Do I see debate against this motion? Seeing none, we'll now move into second round debate for this motion. Do I see debate for this motion? Seeing none, does the opinion of the chair that debate has become one-sided, we'll now move into a period of voting. We'll attempt to this via a voice vote. All those in favor of the consideration of the piece, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? With if the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. We'll now move to the consideration of SB 7703. So 10 minutes starting in Howdy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Howdy, Senate. Chairman Armstrong, R&R. Get you back. I'll be back one more time. So, just buckle up. We got student fee review bill. It was in my committee last week. No edit for me. It's exactly the same as last week. So we're gonna vote on it now. To jog your memory, this thing passed the executive branch in creating a ad hoc committee to review student fees and the student fair fee advisory board. For those unaware, the student fair fee advisory board is a joint board between student government appointed students and student affairs representatives that discuss how to use student fair fee. And so this committee would just be looking at how we do our application process, how we do fair fees, also we've been talking about tonight, and looking at, hey, what can we do better, what do we do really well, looking at other schools, what do they do well, something that myself and Speaker Blackburn and members of the other branches saw this summer at SEC Exchange when we talked to other schools and SGAs that A&M SGA is pretty unique. The other SGAs do things very differently, some in very good ways, some in really bad ways, and so we'd love to apply that to the finance fee process. So without further ado, any questions?
Seeing that the author is not open for creative questions, I see Senator Hurt.
Senator Hurt, off-campus caucus, quick question, what does the student fee advisory board do?
I believe they have just met, but this is not limited to this year's student fee advisory board decision. This is more procedural about the whole operation. How do student fair fees get discussed, applied? How is our allocation process, like downstream of that affected? This is less about like any one particular outcome this year and more about like bettering the process as a whole. In the same way that like I look at the process to improve it, kind of appointing a committee because more than one person can deal with it.
Yes, granted.
Are we looking at just like why are we investigating the board themselves as an average not students?
It's the process in its entirety. It's not like any one decision of the board or the actions of the board or anything like that. It's the whole looking at how money gets where it goes, and just looking at other schools and our own history back in archives and just seeing where can we improve, where do we stay the same.
I see Senator Kim next.
Senator Kim, College Bench. Was there a specific issue that prompted this bill or creation?
No, I mean, short answer, no. Long answer, there just are always questions around this time of the year about how our money gets ready to go to the finance process. I haven't seen anything like tonight before, but I mean, there's always questions about how all this works, and so this is more just over my 4 years in Senate, seeing that this is a recurring question. I figured we could do well by having people. Thank you.
I see any other questions for the author? I see Senator Hurt.
Senator Hurt, off-campus caucus, sorry again. But are Wyoming asking the executive and not legislative?
It's not, we're not specifically tasking the branch to look at this, we're tasking the student body president to appoint a committee. The finance chairman would serve as the committee.
Number two,
Point of order,
state your point.
Chair Chu, student services. Just the preface out of the good integrity that Chair did not say his name for caucus. So they use that word.
That is in fact true.
That's your point of order.
State your point.
It's rules and regulations chair, that was a direction of a point of information question to an author. He wasn't presenting his answer.
One of parliamentary. Chair Chu, student services, is he not one of the authors?
He's correct.
Yes, that is correct. He is one of the authors. If I'm not mistaken, I was not seeing the point of information aspect of when Chairman Morrison answered the question. I just saw Chairman Morrison take the floor and answer the question. And seeing as he did not state his initial name of caucus was before, then Chairman Morrison would be out of it. We're gonna call it now. We're still the question and answer. Seeing none, we thank the author for his time. All right, with that, we're now going to move into debate on this piece. We'll start a debate against this piece, so seeking debate against this. Moving on, we'll move into the first round debate for this piece, so seeking debate for this piece. We'll now move into the second round debate against this piece, so seeking debate against this piece. Seeing none, we'll now move into the second round debate for this piece. So seeing debate for this piece. Seeing none, it is the opinion of the chair that debate has become one-sided. We'll now move into a period of voting led by Pro Tem Patel. We'll attempt to this via a standing vote. All those in favor for the passage of SB 7703, please rise. All those opposed? By a vote of 46-0, this bill does pass. Still in open session, do I see any motions? Chairman Armstrong. Do you have a motion?
Madam Speaker.
You've got the floor real quick.
Madam Speaker, I move to consider the impeachment process overhauled.
Because the motion has been made and seconded, this motion is debatable and unamendable. I'll now move into debate on this motion. I'll start debate against this motion. If I see any debate against this motion. Being none, we'll now move into the first round debate for this. State your point.
I once again don't have time, please. I believe there are two.
Well, considering we're still in debate, we'll work on it, and by the time potentially this vote passes, you'll have access. Yes.
Point of parliamentary inquiry, Chair Chu, student services, don't I need to be able to read what I'm voting on? In order to know the question?
It's already done.
Madam
It's being worked on while I make the motion. Yes, state your point, Chairman Morrison.
I have a motion. I'm going to take a 1 minute sanity.
I believe you, according to my lovely executive director of operations, you have access to the document.
You do now?
Sometimes technology. Thank you. Alright, yes, yes, state your point. Refresh. Perfect. All right, we are still in debate for the consideration of this motion. Vaccine debate for this motion, for the first round. Four. Seeing none, we'll now go to the second round debate against this motion. Vaccine debate against this motion. Now go to the second, seeing none, we'll now go to the second round debate for this motion. Vaccine debate for this motion. Seeing none, is the opinion of the chair, the debate has become one-sided. We'll now move into a period of voting. We'll attempt this via a voice vote. All those in favor of the consideration of the Impeachment Overhaul Act, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
It is the opinion of the chair. Gosh, thank you guys. It is the opinion of the chair that the ayes have it and this motion does pass. If the author only goes the you have 10 minutes starting at.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Chair Armstrong, R&R. How did that? It's the last one. And it's the first reading. We don't actually have to do anything about it. We just have to read it. We don't even have to read the whole thing. So, impeachment process overall, you heard Senator Fritzoff discussed earlier the recommendations presented by Student Affairs. This was another one of those that we revised the impeachment procedures in numerous ways. And so I just more or less took the list of things that they recommended and put them into it. Here we go. So, a brief rundown. Enacted 1 talks about, this is Article 6 of Title 2 Code. Talks about like the actual impeachment, talks about who has the power to impeach. This is where I put in grounds of impeachment. This is one of the things they hammered on hard was specific grounds for impeachment. Previously, it says that an officer may be impeached for not upholding the duties or honor of their position. Period. End of sentence. This puts in some specific grounds for impeachment. It's starting out like violating or asking anyone else to violate a law or the code, the documents of SGA, retaliating against someone for reporting ethics concerns, knowingly making a false allegation or statement in the proceeding, misuse of funds or shooting of resources, abuse of authority, nepotism, failing to disclose conflict of interest. I'm open to expanding those or changing wording. We'll do that maybe next week. But anyways, this is just what I was given. Also, I threw in the phrase on the motion to bar from office that was useful. Enacted 2 strikes. There's another part where it talks about the grounds for impeachment. It just strikes it and refers it back to the grounds listed in the first part. And then talking about how you actually do an impeachment, there's 2 processes, by petition or by resolution. This just clarifies it has to be in writing, the charges have to be in writing beforehand, and it has to happen 72 hours before the next meeting. That was another thing that they asked for. And then let's see. And then the next part is talking about who chairs the meeting. This is another thing that was brought up, was conflict of interest. Currently, the speaker chairs the meeting unless the speaker is implicated in the hearing itself. Do you have a point? One personal privilege.
State your point.
The speaker is not Senator Alpha Bush rule. The speaker is not the rule of the next chair.
Yes, but I think the point of, I'm in a personal privilege in here. I think the point of what Chair Armstrong was saying is that regardless of who is chairing the meeting, and it being within Senate, that is a conflict of interest and puts all parties at jeopardy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My next sentence was that if anyone in the student senate is chairing a meeting, impeaching someone in the legislative branch, that represents a conflict of interest, and if it were to be the judge that's chairing an impeachment for someone in the judicial branch, that's conflict of interest. So the next section just ensures that that kind of conflict of interest cannot exist. Yeah, you can read the details there. Let's see. The next part, they asked that the person being accused in the impeachment hearing be given equal to present. That was actually already part of the code. But I put in there that if they do not already possess even 30% standing over the Senate, they will be given the choice of the debate. Just to make extra clear that the person is able to debate, I think it's already in there, but just to make it extra clear. Let's see. They wanted us to put in explicit state or standard of evidence, which seems redundant, but put it in there, preponderance of evidence, that seems more likely than not. To me, that's common sense, but now it's in there explicitly. And that's it. So that's the impeachment overhaul act. We'll put it in our committee for next week and we'll vote on it in 2 weeks. Thanks again.
All right, the office is now open for a period of questions. So I see any questions. I have Chair Conrad, Senator Conrad first.
Senator Conrad, Chair Caucus, when we say came from student activities, where are these recommendations?
Student affairs, not activities, but yes, they came from not wonderful Dylan. They came from Dr. Dobianski, who is Associate Vice President for Student Affairs. Yes, correct titles. And over the summer, she formed a committee. It was her, a representative from Office of General Counsel, and then a third-party representative, kind of a consultant on governance, that poured through different portions of our code pertaining to vice president elections, impeachment, election violation investigation, and line of succession. I'll let you put those both pieces together. And presented a packet to Internal Affairs that detailed recommendations for what we would like to see changed or edited. And so this is more or less in line. I answered exactly the line they asked for in regards to.
I had Pro Tem Patel next.
Pro Tem Patel, how do you define nepotism?
It's the question. It's a real question. I would define nepotism. I mean, it does not define nepotism, which is intentional. To leave that definition up to the Senate that is impeaching whatever person. We can debate this in 2 weeks, but that was done intentionally. I would define nepotism as giving special pardon to those that you have personal affiliation with, namely blood relatives or close friends.
I had Senator Monk next.
Senator Monk, Caucus, I had a similar question about the nepotism. It's not defined, and you said you have this definition of it, but some people would say nepotism is like giving your friends positions, like maybe they're unqualified. So, like, would you be open to defining nepotism in some way, even if it's broad, so it's not person privilege?
I will answer that question applying to every single part of this act, and that I'm married to none of it, and that all of it is up for amendment in my committee or in 2 weeks. Change whatever you want by the procedures of the Senate. I have just done my obligation by writing it down and bringing it.
I have Senator Applewhite next.
Senator Applewhite, when did you say that?
The R&R committee meeting will be a week from tomorrow at 7 p.m.
I have Senator Fisher next.
Senator Fisher, College of Life Sciences, would it be the job of the Senate after impeaching to decide whether they deemed a person unqualified for the cabinet position and that they were only chosen due to nepotism, or who would that be dependent on?
I'm going to start talking in the hopes that I'll understand by the end of my sentence. I think if you were to ask permission back and forth, that would be wonderful, so you could restate your question in a more clear way. I think that
speaker permission for back and forth.
Granted.
Perfect. I meant more so in the sense of like, if nepotism is deemed as favoritism towards a person, not necessarily due to their lack of talent or lack of resume, would the Senate then decide that they were only chosen because they were either a friend or sibling to, say, the student body president, and that they were underqualified?
this is an interesting question. I think how I would approach the adjudication of nepotism, which is not necessarily how a future Senate would approach the adjudication of nepotism, would be if someone could prove that a person was given special pardon, special provision, special assistance towards obtaining a position that others were not provided, and that person happened to be a blood relative or a close friend or something of that nature. I think that would constitute a clear violation of that.
Do I see any other questions, Senator Mo?
Senator Malakoff, caucus, couldn't that just be avoided based on like the Senate thinks nepotism, so they just reject the candidate or deem that they are qualified instead of just like.
I think that's a wonderful idea, but also I'm getting the feeling that we're discussing something that's not this case. And I would love to have those conversations just not like right now. People are already knowing that we're talking so much, but let's get this done. We can go home, we'll talk about it.
I'd Senator Hurd.
Senator, a question, are like the distribution of the fund and all that is before they're in office or while they're in office? Like, do you need someone who did a year prior?
That's a wonderful conversation to have in committee or in 2 weeks. I have generally held the position that if someone does something before they're an officer of the Senate, or officer of the SGA more broadly, that does not constitute something we should police outside of gross violations of decency, but that's not codified. It could be codified. We can have that conversation deeper. Thank you.
Do I see any other questions? Seeing none, we thank the author for his time, and this piece will be sent to Rules of Regs. That, we are still in open session. Pro Tem Patel?
Pro Tem Patel, I move to close.
Motion has been made and seconded. It is undebatable and unamendable and will require a majority vote. Votes into this via a voice vote. All those in favor of closing open session, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. It is befitting the chair that ayes have it, and we close open session. With that, we'll now go into a period of our committee report, starting with our Pro Tem report. Do I have any questions for our Speaker Pro Tem? Seeing none, we thank him first. Senator Pritzel?
All right, Senator Pritzel, Senator Pritzel, on campus caucus, any question about the last resource?
Yes, so we've been experiencing some technical difficulties in the transfer of Facebook. I've never had access to it. Nobody that I know has been in contact has access to it. We've been in conversation with Facebook service. So we're recording this on Zoom. We'll get open on our website, and we're going to
I see any other questions for our Pro Tem? Seeing none, we thank him for his time. With that, we'll move to our rules and regulations chair. Do I see any questions for Chairman Armstrong? Senator Pritzel?
On campus caucus, we have a lot of our legislation.
It will be a week from tomorrow at 7 p.m. in Coldus. The room is TBD. My first committee meeting was just across the hall. Last week's meeting was going to be in the committee offices. We did not meet quorum. So if you're on our committee, please come to this committee meeting. It's like super, super important that you're there. If you're not on committee, please come to our committee meeting. More the merrier. We'd love to have a conversation about any of the stuff we talked about tonight. But yes, a week from tomorrow, 7 p.m. somewhere in Coldus.
Do I see any other questions for Chairman Armstrong? Seeing none, I thank the chair for his time. With that, we'll move to our student services chair. Do I see any questions for Chair 2? Seeing none, we thank the chair for his time. With that, we'll move to our finance chair. Do I see any questions for Chairman Morrison? Seeing none, we thank the chair for his time. With that, we'll move to our community relations chair. Do I see any questions for the community relations chair? Seeing none, we thank you for her time. With that, we'll move to our legislative relations chair. Do I see any questions for Chairman Bass? I see Pro Tem Patel.
Pro Tem Patel, it's my understanding that today and tomorrow there is a voter registration drive. You want to detail that?
I would love to. Yeah, so there's a voter registration drive today. It's from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. We were basically on the plaza. We have people who are actually, they're called registrars, or legally assist people with registering votes for the first time, which is their address, counts. They're dealing with all this stuff.
town. Speaking from my personal experience today, I was only there for an hour and a half to 3 hours, and I registered over 40 people. That's manually, by myself, and like we had what, 6 or 7 registrars there at that point. So we're doing great work with that. We're also giving out free shirts. So if you want one, stop by. You can start to make that. That's super cool swag. 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. tomorrow as well. And yeah, I think some people know if they're volunteering for that. But yeah, if you have not registered, please do because it is your you should. But yeah, we can assist you with an address change or
You should like.
Great.
Are these for your comfort colors or like small?
But it's comfortable. We have two different types, white and green, and Aggies Nova. I think it's pretty cool. So we have some with me wearing like stuff like specific.
I see any other questions? Oh, I had Senator Gumson.
Senator Gusser, College of Engineering. Do you know how many total people were registered for that?
From today?
Yeah.
Okay, so I know we're gonna take a full count. I know for me personally, I did 44. And Pauline was going at probably, okay, so she had about 200 people. So I thought we should go with fast ones. Yeah, but I think the goal, like my personal goal today was just to get 30 on my own, and like I surpassed it. So I think we have more voter registrars for tomorrow, which is actually really awesome. So we're going to do that. We're going to
Have any other questions for our chairman? Seeing none, we thank him for his time. With that, we'll move to our academic affairs chair. Do I see any questions for Chair Cornell? I see Senator Gaines.
Senator Gaines, College of Engineering, what are you currently working on for this semester?
Awesome, okay, this past, not yesterday, but last Tuesday, I actually met with the provost's office, and we also met with Chief Kaufman at that meeting. And we discussed, both me and Robert, all of our projects for this year. We got some of the provost's input on that. Our big thing is we are currently working on getting the associations to go advisor appreciation luncheon. I also met with the First Gen Center, so we should hopefully have a little bit more advocacy in there, and maybe even a word talked about one day in spring. I talked with my committee about this. We're addressing the issues of selling seats and courses. So we're also talking with the provost's office about that. So those are kind of what we're focusing. We're also looking, we should hopefully have a survey sent out to the student body about any problems that students see on campus and what we can do.
All right, do I see any other questions for Cornell? Seeing none, we thank him for his time. With that, we'll move to our constituency affairs chair. Do I see any questions for Chair Applewhite? Chair Bass.
Chair Bass, Legislative Relations Committee, what did you hear?
I didn't get it from Target, that's for sure. Nothing wrong with Target, I would cover. It's from Dillard's. And so
I have Senator Ken.
Senator Tim, College of Engineering. For some of our new senators, are there any system previously in place to do that?
Well, all students can bring up legislation at meetings, like even if you're not a senator, you just have to have a senator sponsor. And we're just working on ways to let people know that. We're gonna put in place a Google form and I'll Instagram and not like students can like submit anonymous requests or like non-anonymous requests, like suggestions and stuff, so.
Do I see any other questions for our chair? Senator Owens.
Like, on this, are there any, like, for, like, that's important to the.
Well, I mean, there's like the elections.
Speaker, whatever.
Yes.
The consent is.
I am going to have to go since you're not wearing a jacket, you're gonna be out of this one. Don't see any other senator.
Senator Hopkins Scott, just answer.
Yeah, so there's actually. Wait,
Commissioner back and forth.
Granted.
Is there anything further Mr. Stevens would like to start out?
I don't know, we're working on the website right now for IA. Not at the moment, I don't think for every single senator, I mean, besides like the election, site with like results. But I have to talk about that.
Point of personal privilege.
State your point.
Pro Tem Patel, the website currently has a list of every senator that has been doing since the California today, but it does have all of their caucuses and constituencies and
Do I see any other questions for our chair? Seeing none, we thank you for their time, and with that, we'll move to our diversity and inclusion chair. Do I see any questions for Chair Wilhite? Seeing none, we thank her for her time. With that, we'll move to our Executive Director of Operations. Do I see any questions for Edio Herbert? Seeing none, we thank her. Oh, I already called it. With that, we'll now move into a period of executive reports, starting with SVP Coppinger.
Hi. Thank you for having me today, guys. Just a little update on what we're working on. For the road coach drive, Trey is killing it. Ben Crockett is killing it. My team. I was fortunate enough to be deputy registrar, so I'm really excited to see that formulate. We're working hard on that this week. The team has had a ton of progress. We're making a lot of progress in student engagement, as well as moving along in our projects and things like that we've seen. Any questions?
All right, the SVP is open for questions. Do I see any questions for the SVP? Seeing none, we thank him for his time. Report from our Chief Justice.
No, Senate. Congratulations, senators. Going on, just. Congratulations.
All right, the Chief Justice is now open for questions. Do I see any questions for Chief Justice? Chairman Morrison.
Chairman Morrison, Finance, I just wanted to ask you
We just got our JAGs, so they're probably. We just got new JAGs now, their first training, last Tuesday, which was very well, trying to get everybody's bio and headshot for the website. We have a meeting tomorrow, very excited. We're gonna meet. Say it's hard, so we have a question. We're gonna hear everything, ask a question, so.
Permission to back and forth.
Granted.
Video is.
All right, any other question for Chief Luckinwell? Seeing none, we thank her for her time. I will now to the chairship to Pro Tem Patel to deliver my executive report.
All right, the speaker is now open to a period of presentation.
All right, well, howdy Senate. Not too much for me. Again, congratulations to all of our senators. It makes me very happy to have a much fuller Senate than we've had the past few weeks. I'm excited to see what all you will do. Pro Tem Patel and myself will be communicating with you all more to make sure you're updated to all of our communication, and also giving you place in a committee that will be next week. Couple things for me, I'm starting to work on some of my action projects for the year, and so hopefully as I'm working, I can start to share those with you. But with that, I'm gonna
That the speaker is open to a period of question and answer. Guys, any questions for Speaker Blanker? Seeing none, I will yield the chairship. Speaker Blanker.
All right, with that, we'll now move into a period of closing roll call led by Pro Tem Patel. And again, as always, please don't pack up.
All right, and that's your name. Please say howdy. SVP Coffinger. Howdy. Chief Justice Lovingwell. Speaker Blackburn.
Howdy.
Chairman Armstrong. Howdy. Chairman Chu. Howdy. Chairman Morrison. Howdy. Chairman Gaddis. Chairman Bass. Howdy. Chairman Cornell.
Howdy.
Chairman Applewhite.
Howdy.
Chairman Wilhite.
Howdy.
EDO Herbert.
Howdy.
Senator Fisher. Howdy. Senator Quan.
Howdy.
Senator James.
Howdy.
Senator Tanner Owen. Howdy. Senator Williams. Howdy. Senator Roscoe. Senator Bounds. Howdy. Senator Garcia. Senator Justino.
Howdy.
Senator Override. Senator Fan. Senator Sanchez.
Howdy.
Senator Vernon. Senator Daniel. Howdy. Senator Rodriguez. Senator Sanders. Senator Wright. Senator Hunt. Senator Gilliard. Senator Maynard. Senator Morrow.
Yeah, howdy.
Senator Bradley. Howdy. Senator Childs. Senator Gaines.
Howdy.
Senator Gubsick. Howdy. Senator Kim. Howdy. Senator Rollins. Senator Tucker.
Howdy.
Senator Gackler. Senator Applewhite. Senator Henry Smith. Senator Burrell. Senator Van Hoosier. Senator Rango. Senator Booth. Senator Collinsworth. Senator Edgington. Senator Hughes. Senator Cookson. Senator Jojo Owens. Senator Pritzlaw. Senator Conrad. Senator Duncan. Senator Flores. Senator Kowalski. Senator Hoffman. Senator House. Senator Berger. Senator Vance. Senator Leahy. Senator Monk. Senator Norton. Senator Oliphant. Senator Anna Kate Owens. Senator Puckett. Senator Ratcliffe. Senator Schaefer. Senator Steele. Senator Sloan. Senator Hudson Smith. Senator Stone. Senator Teets. Senator Tripodi. Senator Tullis. Senator Horton. Senator Rasko. There you go.
All right, with that, the meeting is adjourned.